Waking up from that horrific nightmare about a horse being beaten to death, Raskolnikov shuddered as he realized the sheer brutality in his own murder plan. He decided to give it up. The fever faded, and for the first time in weeks, his mind felt calm again. But a completely pointless detour on the way home led him straight to a fateful square, where a twisted evil coincidence rolled out the red carpet and forced him to become a murderer. Raskolnikov kept wandering through the stifling, dusty streets of St. Petersburg, heading toward Razumihin's place. He was completely worn out, didn't have a single coin left, and was carrying a secret that genuinely terrified him. He'd been nursing a horrific idea: murder. He muttered to himself, trying to find a way out of that idea. The reason he'd left his rented room was to go see his friend Razumihin and beg for some tutoring work, but then he decided, with a strange and frightening calm, that he would go see Razumihin only after the thing was done. The moment that thought slipped through his mind, his own brain rebelled. He jumped up from the street, his heart pounding hard. Would he really do it? A carefully planned murder. The city's heat was pressing down on him, but Raskolnikov was trembling. Trying to run from his own mind, he walked for hours, craving green trees and clean air to wash away the stench of his thoughts. Then his legs turned heavy as lead. He staggered off the street, collapsed into the tall grass and the bushes, and blacked out into a nightmare so vivid it felt real. In the dream, Raskolnikov was no longer a desperate, gloomy student. He was a little boy, only 7 years old, walking with his father through the flat, empty outskirts of his hometown. Up ahead was a place that had always terrified him, a huge, filthy tavern surrounded by the black dust of the road and a crowd of drunk, shouting peasants. But as the boy and his father passed the tavern, something horrible was happening. A big cart meant for massive draft horses was standing outside, but the animal tied to it wasn't a strong horse. It was a skinny, bony, exhausted little mare. A peasant named Mikolka, thick-necked and red-faced from cheap vodka, was yelling at the crowd. He wanted everyone to climb onto the cart. He insisted this poor, half-starved creature would gallop with all of them. The crowd roared with laughter. They climbed on, 6 men, 1 fat woman, all of them laughing at how ridiculous it was. Mikolka grabbed a whip and lashed the horse. With a cry, the poor mare threw her whole weight forward, her hooves slipping in the mud, gasping for breath. She only managed to move the cart a tiny bit. Then Mikolka went crazy. He brought the whip down like hail. The crowd cheered, getting excited. Little Raskolnikov was shaking as he watched, tears streaming down his face. "Father, what are they doing? They're beating the poor horse," he cried, but his father tried to pull him away. "They're drunk. It's none of our business." But the boy couldn't look away. The violence got worse. Men jumped out of the crowd with more whips, lashing the horse's sides. Her face hit her in the eyes. Mikolka roared. The animal was gasping, her knees buckling. But she still hadn't fallen, and that only made Mikolka angrier. He threw the whip down, grabbed a big, heavy piece of wood from the cart, and smashed it onto the horse's spine with a terrible thud. The mare sank down, still desperately trying to pull a weight she could never move. "Get an axe and finish her off." Someone in the crowd shouted. Mikolka dropped the wood. He reached into the cart and pulled out a solid iron crowbar. With all his strength, he brought it down on the horse's back. Once, twice. The animal collapsed to the ground like a felled tree, let out one long broken breath, and died. The 7-year-old boy was completely shattered. He tore free from his father's hand, pushed through the drunken murderers, and screamed in pure despair. He threw his little arms around the horse's bloody, dead head, then turned and swung his tiny fists at Mikolka in blind rage. Suddenly, Raskolnikov woke up. He jerked up from the grass, gasping. His hair stuck to his forehead with cold sweat. His chest heaved. He looked down at his hands. "Oh God," he whispered. The dream had acted like a mirror. He suddenly saw his plan for what it really was. Would I really pick up an axe? Would I really split an old woman's skull? Step through her warm, sticky blood? Hide like a thief? Is that even possible? The pure horror of it made him sick. And then something miraculous happened. The nausea vanished. The black cloud that had been choking his mind for a month simply evaporated. He stood up, looked toward the sunset over the river, and felt a wave of peace wash over him. He had decided he would abandon that dark, cursed plan of his. The murder would not happen, and he would be free of the obsession. But fate has a cruel and ironic sense of humor. On the way home, with a clear mind for the first time in weeks, Raskolnikov took a small detour, completely unnecessary. He wandered through a crowded, stinking square full of traders and con men. He had no reason to go there at all, but if he hadn't gone to that fateful square, the rest of this story would never have happened. As he slipped through the crowd, he came across two traders packing up their stall. They were talking to a woman, a tall, shy woman named Lizaveta. Lizaveta was the sister of the old pawnbroker, the very woman Raskolnikov had just promised himself he would not kill. Lizaveta was almost a slave to her cruel sister. Raskolnikov stood frozen in the shadows. He listened. The traders were pressing Lizaveta to come back for a deal. "Come around 7 tomorrow," the man said. Lizaveta hesitated. She was afraid of her sister. "Do I have to come?" "Around 7 tomorrow," the man confirmed. "And we'll have a cup of tea." "All right, I'll come," Lizaveta finally answered. Raskolnikov slipped away unnoticed, but an absolute shiver of horror ran down his spine. His whole body went cold. A strange coincidence of the universe, as if arranged by fate itself. He had just been handed the perfect piece of information without asking or investigating anything. Tomorrow at exactly 7, the sister would be out of the apartment, which meant tomorrow at 7, the old pawnbroker would be completely alone. His illusion of freedom vanished in an instant. Raskolnikov walked the last steps back to his coffin-like little room. He didn't feel like a man who had chosen his path. He felt like a man whose own will had just been stripped away. The universe itself had rolled out the red carpet to the scene of the crime. He sat down, his mind completely empty. Everything, suddenly and irreversibly, had been decided for him. The clock had started ticking down. At exactly 7 tomorrow evening, the old pawnbroker would be completely alone. His cramped little room closed in around him like a coffin, and Raskolnikov knew there was no way out. Would this repulsive crime really unfold exactly the way fate had scripted it?